stop doing that segregation that queer people are them and us, in fact, you will be able to have conversations with the queer community without offending them, without making them feel bad. Okay, they queer people are, as you can see, regular human beings. This fat man sitting in front of you wearing glasses. So I also have myopia. I also feel hungry, thirsty, which is why I was munching on something when Tinto started this conversation. So we all are regular people. We all nobody is normal and the other person is abnormal or paranormal or anything like that. So work with that core belief that all humanity is equal. Okay, all humanity is the same, and then start your journey towards understanding the larger LGBTQIA plus community. Okay, so the favorite part of it, what does it even mean? Okay, so like somebody asked, what do these things stand for? So very simply, the sometimes people write LGBTQ only, sometimes people write queer only, sometimes people write LGBT plus, sometimes people write LGBTQIA plus. I've seen longer versions of this also, but I think for all sort of practical purposes, LGBTQIA plus is the most inclusive list of all people that fit into the queer spectrum. Okay, now, the different sort of full form of it is L stands for lesbian, um, which is simply put a person who is of the female gender who is attracted to another person of the female gender. Okay. Guys, please feel free to interrupt and ask questions if you have any questions while I'm speaking. Don't wait for the end. Okay. Um, Gays are people of the male gender who who are attracted to people of the male gender. Bisexuals are people of either of the two genders, male or female, who are attracted to both males and females. Transgender are people who are transitioning, who are inherently born with one but feel like they are the other. Okay, so a person who's born male who feels he is not male, or a person who's born female and she feels she is not female. Okay, or the most politically correct way of saying is a person who's born male and they feel they're not male, and a person who's born female and they feel they're not female. Okay, the other one is Q. Q stands for two things: queer and questioning. Now, questioning are people who are questioning their sexual identity. A lot of times, there are people who don't fall into any of these buckets, and they have a lot of questions about, which side of the spectrum or where in the spectrum they sit. They fall under the queer or the questioning bucket. Queer also is an umbrella term that is used to describe the entire spectrum. LGBTQIA plus. Queer is also a term that is used instead of the full LGBTQIA plus. Is it clear so far?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
I wish I could see everyone and see at least a thumbs up. But anyways, um, yeah, Tinto's thumbs up. Oh, great! I have a thumbs up flying. Oh, I have lots of thumbs up. Yay! Super. So the next one are intergender. I love this technology, by the way. Tinto, you must teach me this platform. The next one is intergender. Now, intergender are people who are born with either both or neither sexual organs. Okay, this is probably the most visible sort of part of the LGBTQI community, because we see them most out in the public, and they're probably the most ostracized part of the community also, what we popularly call as inner or hijra. Okay, so this is the intergender community. Asexual are people who do not have sexual feelings for any gender or anyone. Okay. um 0.02% of the world's population falls in the asexual community. So it's still a very, very, very large number. Okay. And plus is for good measure. Anybody who doesn't fall into any of this and is not heterosexual is plus. Okay. So the queer people wanted to make sure it is fully inclusive. So there were some names that were created, and then there were still people who did not necessarily fall into any of these categories. So the plus is for those people who are non-heterosexual, but do not but are not either lesbian or gay or bisexual or transgender or queer or intergender or asexual. Okay. Should I move on?
Yes.
Okay, and here we go. Okay, now, and this is something as a queer person. So I came out to myself, and I came out to myself when I was 3 years old. So it was a long, long, long time back. But I came out to my parents in 1995 when I was 15, and even then, I used to hear things like it's a new thing. It's because of cable TV. I think now people blame Western media for people turning queer. So I wanted you guys to get a sense on how ancient the queer um, people are. Okay, so it is as ancient as humanity itself. Sorry, I'm getting a bit of echo. Any idea how do I solve that? Okay, yeah, forget it. Let's continue. So there are depictions of prevalence of the third sex, which is the intergender, as ancient as 7,000 BCE. These are Neolithic cravings. So people, when they were drawing those cave paintings, they were drawing bisons and still don't know how to invent the wheel. There were instances of the intergender, of LGBTQIA people, even then. There is a very famous burial found in Egypt where there were two high officials who were priests who were who were buried together as a male and a female couple is usually buried together. This was 2400 BCE, that is before Christ. Okay, there were aristocrats in Crete, in Greece, who during that period it was considered, it was in fact promoted that young adolescent boys should have relationships with stronger older men so that they end up becoming stronger men. Okay, and this is 7th century BCE. Okay, in 385 years before Christ, Plato, the very famous theologist, thinker, actually wrote a book called Symposium, where it's mentioned that the love between two males is the highest form of love, whereas the sex between a male and a female is just lust. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'm just talking about instances of 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 the queer community being visible, being prevalent, and people being aware of it way back. My personal absolute favorite story is, how many of you know the story of the Samudra Manthan in Hindu mythology?
Yeah.
Yes, nice.
So, do you know what happened when Amrit came out?
Yeah.
So, Vishnu turns himself into a woman,
Then to
and,
distract.
and he stole the Amrit and he ran away. Shiv became so enamored by Vishnu in that form that they actually copulated, and they had a son who is worshipped all over south of India and otherwise known as Ayyappa.
Ayappa.
So Ayyappa is a union, is the child that is the union of Vishnu and Shiv. And this is Hindu mythology. This is written in the books in so many words. Okay. So If anybody says queer culture is new, it is a function of West, no, it is not. It is as old as humanity itself. Now, to understand how many queer people are around us. Okay, and I was very surprised when I was doing this research for this presentation because the last study I read said 10% of the population is queer. However, the most recent study, and this is by the way, study done in India in 2021. Okay,
Yes.
I have linked that study here. It's by a company called Ipsos. Okay, it's a global research agency, which according to them, only 9%
You're recording it, right?
consider themselves as heterosexual.
Come and pay attention. I'm not keeping it
I
quiet.
need the clips and I need to.
That means 41% of the population is queer or did not answer. The further breakdown, you would see 3% they publicly accept themselves as gay stroke lesbian, 9% as bisexual, 4% as transsexual, 2% as intergender, 0.02% as asexual. Sorry, that 02 has disappeared, and 13% as others. Now, this 13% includes people who refuse to answer. Okay, which means a large chunk of this 13% would also probably go into the queer community itself. Because I don't know a lot of heterosexual people who say, I will not answer. Right? Only 70% of India's population considers itself to be cis heterosexual. So by extension, 30% of India's population is queer. So if there are 30 people in the training, at least 3 queer people are sitting here. One here present, I know who the 2 others are. But there are 2 other people who maybe don't know themselves, are in denial or whatever the case is. Okay. Roughly translated, that means there are 420 million queer people in India. Okay, look at the sheer size of that number.
And we have a problem finding candidates.
Okay, now understanding a global perspective. So even now, where we are at a fairly mature stage of being civilized, being queer is allowed legally only in 134 countries out of 199. Okay, same-sex marriage is allowed only in 34 countries out of the 199. And even as of today, there is death penalty for being queer in 6 countries, where as of yesterday, somebody was stoned and killed in Iran.
What?
Stoned and killed. That is why you don't see too many people on Naukri writing their queer.
Which
Moving
are the
on.
six?
What are
So,
the 6 countries? Would you know that?
sorry,
Which are the 6 countries?
I can send you the list. So it's mostly Middle Eastern countries
Okay.
and Russia. Sorry, I have a client call. Sorry, 1 second. Kunal, I'm not training. I'm so sorry. Can I call you back? Was 6? Thank you. 3 लाख रुपए देने इसने. Okay.
Huh?
So, um, by the way, recently there's a country in Africa that very publicly made this speech. The prime minister made this speech that queer people do not deserve to live, and he said anybody who shoots and kills them does the world a service. So there is still that humongous amount of misunderstanding, hatred, fear for the queer community in the world. Okay, we still live in our urban bubbles where we think it's okay, it's acceptable. Step out a little bit. World is a little. harsher than what we feel. So how do we understand what is inclusivity? And this is something where we need to understand it ourselves before we sell it to our clients. What is inclusivity? Are we saying we want special privileges to be given to people of the queer community? No. We are talking about equity, equality, equal representation. So if 30% of the world's population is queer, it logically transposes that 30% of a company's population should also be queer. Okay. Going back, and something would resonate with the ladies in this discussion. It's the same discussion that we were having about 10-12 years ago about gender representation. Why is it that even though 50% of the world's population is are women, only 2% of the boards are women? 2%, even today's day and age. So this is something we need to understand and appreciate. It is not about, nobody is saying hire a queer person even if the person is not qualified. It is asking for equal rights, equal representation. So if a company wants to grow, company wants diverse views, the company needs to have a diverse population. And that diversity is only possible by inclusivity. Okay. So how do you become inclusive as individuals, as companies? By one, giving respect to everyone. I'm not saying give extra respect to someone, but give respect to everyone. Give equal opportunity to everyone, and have love for all in your hearts. Heavy ho gaya thoda?
नहीं.
Okay. Now, why is inclusivity important? I think this was no, I think this wasn't. So why is, and this is something that in fact, I spent almost a year when I started VNR. So why should a company be inclusive? I mean, besides the fact that it's a good thing to be inclusive, why else? Is there a numeric reason? So very simple answer is, besides being the right thing to do, you don't want to alienate 30% of the population. Okay? You build a more comprehensive understanding of life. Okay? And you learn new things. Okay? Um, what are the benefits inclusive companies enjoy? For example, better brand image. Now, if you look at the Tatas and Godrej, they have always been very inclusive in their approaches, both from a gender perspective and from an LGBTQIA perspective. And we've always respected them. And nobody, even, I mean, there's a huge scene at Tatas where they had to fire their CHROs of one of their entities. But have you realized nobody's gone around and saying Tata's a bad company?
Hmm.
Because of the sheer goodwill of them being inclusive helps them. Nobody ever says Godrej owns 30% of India's marshlands, they're horrible people. Nobody says that because Godrejes have been able to build this image for themselves that they are nice people because they're inclusive. Okay. I'll give you an example in Mahindra's. This is a long time back. This is before being gay became legal, etc. I had a friend of mine who worked in the HR team at TechM, and he, the CHRO, and he was, let's say, a little bit more flamboyant in his clothings and in his behavior, and his the HR head made a comment that, do you have to look so gay? Why can't you act normal? And he quoted that to the CEO of the entity, and the next day Anand Mahindra himself came down and fired the CHRO. That is the respect towards inclusivity these companies have, and which is why they have a 30% more stickiness in their employees, especially their queer employees. And this is, by the way, printed fact. This is not some strange number that I've picked up. Okay. companies which have visible inclusivity in their policies, the queer employees stay there 30% longer. So basically, that means 30% of your population stays 30% longer. And a simple calculation is your replacement cost is 1 year's salary of that person. So you save that into 3.33%, 3.33 times. So that's the amount of savings companies do by being inclusive. And it is better business, let's face it, because if you are a outward inclusive company, you are visibly doing good things for the population, where people tend to buy more products of yours. I'll give an example. I don't know if a lot of you know this story or not, but about 7-8 years ago, the global Nivea heads, the global the marketing head, and the one of the persons in his team, they were having a meeting with their main creative organization. And if you actually do a Google search on it, you'll be able to find this exact details, where these guys made a very disparaging passing comment about queer people being weird because they were doing a queer friendly ad. And the creative agency immediately stopped work and refused to sign Nivea as a client and made that whole story public. The next day, Nivea's stock price crashed by 7.5%. Their sales went down. Every month on month, the sales went down to a point where they had to print a global apology. In fact, I personally went around telling all my queer friends who were Nivea influencers to stop working for them, and they did. So that is why it is better business. Okay, and more inclusive you are leads to more innovation because you get new ideas, you get new perspectives. Sorry, any questions here? Okay, so then how do we build inclusivity? I think this was the question Kanika had asked. How do we approach queer people? So simply put, use the right pronouns. Now, more often than not, people write their pronouns, especially if you see on LinkedIn, a lot of people have started writing their preferred pronouns. So people who want to use pronouns which is different from what they physically seem to be, tend to write it. So you have to be a little bit more sort of careful about when you're reading it. Secondly, ask. I don't know any queer person who would be upset if you ask what's your preferred pronoun. Obviously, question it nicely. If you say, "Hey, tu he hai ki she hai," nobody will like that. But no, I mean, simply ask, "What's your preferred pronoun?" Okay. In the last 1 month, in fact, right after this, I'm interviewing somebody who wrote in his application letter, "My preferred pronouns are they, them." So now it's up to me to be careful every time I speak to them that I call them, them, and not he or she. And definitely not it. It is never a good pronoun for any human being. Okay, don't even jokingly say that to a close friend. Okay, even though the friend might laugh it, but it hurts. And I'm saying this from a lot of personal experience. Okay, be the change. You will know all these things once you add queer people to your network. Find queer people, become friends with them. If nothing else, you will learn a couple of new things, like how to find other queer people. There is no way on God's green earth, the way things are structured right now, can you find queer candidates without knowing queer people. Because even now, Naukri doesn't have a box which says, are you a part of the LGBTQIA group? Handicap ka hai, female ka hai, but queer is still not there. Maybe a couple of years down the road, Naukri will have it, LinkedIn will have it. As of right now, in fact, LinkedIn will probably never have it. because US has a very active non-discrimination policy, which means you cannot discriminate people against their gender and sexual identity. So they don't want things like this to be visible in a job platform. Okay, never ever ever for God's green on God's green earth ever ask a European or Australian or anybody from the western part of the world if they are queer or not. You will be liable for a suit. Never ask an Indian that either, because the person will probably keep the phone down. What you can ask is, okay, and this is a great secret that I use. Whenever I'm speaking to a candidate, I ask the candidate, tell me about your family. If you're speaking to a 30 plus person who is still single, there are chances he's a member of or she's a member of the queer community. And if you strongly feel, then you what you can do is tell the person, hey, by the way, for this particular role, my client is looking for somebody who is a member of the queer community. By any chance, do you consider yourself one? Okay, so it's a very different question rather than saying, are you queer? Okay. uh, Replace your personal biases with questions which will lead to eventual knowledge. Now, do not assume every queer person looks different or has weird hair like mine, because I didn't even like a month ago. I had fairly normal, regular black hair. Okay. So, move away from assumptions. Okay. Queer people are regular human beings. We are all the same. Okay. Some of us are more glamorous than the rest, but we're still regular human beings. Okay. So, replace your personal biases with questions which will lead to eventual knowledge. Okay. And become an influencer in your workplace. So if you are an ally, if you are, and that's the only way you'll be able to build an effective network of queer people. You need to become the effective ally. So if you are the person who is understanding, who's open, who's thoughtful, you will be able to connect with queer people as queer people and not as a candidate who's queer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yes.
Things to avoid. Okay, and this is a problem I face with a lot of my cisgender heterosexual friends who become over friendly. So they like to ask a lot of questions about positions and who's the male of the relationship and the female, etc., etc., etc. Don't. Make sure you have a strong enough relationship with that person to ask super personal questions, and only then ask. And even then, I think it's a good point to ask that person, hey, listen, may I please ask you a personal question? Okay. Definitely don't ask your candidates these questions. Okay. This is another problem I've seen in India also now. It's fairly there in US. Is people have become over woke. You know, so I was there at a get together of a large group of people, as in this is like business owners group, and let me not name which group, etc. This is irrelevant to the story, but and I'm very good friends with another queer friend of mine who's a business owner, and it was at his place, and the immediately when the wives of the other business owners realized I'm queer, they immediately came to me and started asking questions, which were, and to me it was like they wanted like a tick in the box that, oh, I have one queer friend. So don't have that approach. Don't be like over over understanding in a very insincere way. Okay, don't be like that person. Oh, I am the chairperson of Gay State Alliance of my society. I mean, if you're saying something, it needs to come with with reality behind it. And unfortunately, queer people have been facing prosecution, have been facing disloyalty, have been facing so much of discrimination that we are overly sensitive to people who are being fake. So don't be fake. Okay, definitely do not ask the wrong questions like who's the man or who's the woman in a relationship. So if two guys are together, there is no woman in that relationship. That is what a gay relationship means. If two lesbians, there's no man in the relationship. That is what a lesbian relationship means. So don't ask stupid questions. And I mean, I still get asked that question even now by educated people. So do not ask such questions. People who have transitioned or in the process of transitioning are already in a very sensitive space mentally and physically. Do not, even in a joking way, ask to see their newly created body parts. It is not funny for them. It is not a novelty for them. Okay. Um, I remember I had, and unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but I had a dear friend of mine who transitioned from a man to a woman. And her close friends after the transition, all they wanted to see was the new body part that got created, her female friends, which is not fun for that person. I mean, you feel like a piece of meat in a display case. And that person is already transitioning through a lot of physical pain, mental pain, trauma, medicines, hormonal injections. There's like a shitload of storm happening in that person. So don't add on to that by asking stupid questions like that. Okay. Um, don't sort of assume that just because a person is queer, they would be interested in you. So just don't assume that just because there's a lesbian across the road, she's interested in you. Or for the guys, don't assume there's a guy and just because you're a guy is interested in you. No. If anything else, queer people have a fairly high sort of level of expectations that they have from their partners. So they not go around wanting everyone. I promise you that. And as a queer person with years and years of experience, I can tell you it doesn't happen. Do not assume every touch the queer person has shaken hands with is a step towards something else. Okay. And the most important thing, do not assume my gender identity because you know my sexual orientation. Gay men do not like to be called by the female gender. Lesbians do not like to be called by the male gender. नहीं समझ में आया?
नहीं.
For example, a lot of people, they assume because a person is gay, is effeminate, they refer to that person in the female gender. And this is something amongst gay men we do ourselves. अरे तू कैसी है? Okay. Now, while two gay men will take it from each other, okay, when a third person who's not from the same community, again, we take it from each other because we've suffered the same pain. So we give each other a lot of leeway. But we do not take it from a person who is cisgendered heterosexual. So just because person's gender identity is sexual orientation is A, does not mean that is his gender identity. And we will understand these two words a little further down the training. Okay? But roughly put, just because you see a delicate man or a butch woman, don't assume that person likes to be called by the opposite gender. Ask that person's preferred pronouns. Okay? Always ask. Okay?
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Yes.
Let me see more floating thumbs ups. Any limkas there? No. Abaki looks okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to stay away from the politics of this. But largely put, what the problem is, and this is why you don't have a lot of people who will accept their queer identity, is because to a large part our population is uninformed and misinformed. where people still think being queer is an illness. A very dear friend of mine whose parents are doctors took him to a psychiatrist for shock treatment because they found out he's gay. Another very dear friend of mine whose father is a PhD ran behind him with a shotgun, a loaded shotgun to kill him when he found out he's gay. So things like that, and they still happen, and this is not some rural part of India. These things are happening even in the metros. So there is still a vast chunk of population which is uninformed, misinformed. Let's us all promise that we will not be that population anymore. Okay. Unfortunately, in India, we tend to gravitate towards a majoritarian political view. So, because 70% of the voting population, well, I think if I send this presentation to the political parties, they'll probably change their their tempo when they figure out 30% is square. But because unlike all groups where all Yadavs tend to vote together, all Brahmins tend to vote together, all queer people don't tend to vote together. So we're not a voting bloc. Because we're not a voting bloc, we become what is called a minuscule minority. We are an irrelevant number for political parties. So nobody gives a rat's ass. Don't be that. Okay. Then, of course, there is the right wing ideology and the religious myopia, which says, as per Manusmriti, being gay is bad. Hi, Priyasha.
Bye.
Bye. As per Manusmriti, something else. As per Quran, you should be flogged. As per your Bible, you should be hanged. Well, then follow all those things to the T also, where it means you can't eat pork, you can't play football, you can't wear a fabric of two different types woven together. You can't work on a Sunday. Kanika will probably die if she doesn't work on Sunday. Um, you have to go to temple once a week. You have to wake up before sunrise and sleep after sunset. So follow all this also. Okay. Which one of you wakes up before sunrise? Raise your hands. Anyone? चलो कोई जिम नहीं जाता ठीक है अच्छा एक हाथ ऊपर आया दो आया चलो good है okay now any questions so far guys
Yeah.
okay now there is a very long list of words which queer people use. I have tried my best to stick to English words which are probably used more in the semi work perspective. Okay, so the first word is androgynous. Does anybody know, has heard this word before?
I don't say no, then just maybe.
Sorry, I missed that bit.
No.
No?
No.
So, androgynous is a person who has both male and female traits or neither. Okay, purely from a looks perspective. So if you Google, I can't share my screen with something else, can I?
You
Yeah.
can. You can.
Screen
But
share.
you'll have to stop broadcast and then share.
No
Oh,
screen
forget it.
share.
Too much work. Hey, what did I do?
You stop the broadcast.
Oh shoot. How do I now start the broadcast? Broadcast. No.
वहीं पर नीचे होगा ना broadcast. Share materials.
Share material. Yeah. Broadcast. Sorry guys. I'm very technically challenged. So androgynous are people who have both physical attributes of male and female or neither. In your free time, please Google and famous Indian androgynous models. You'll be surprised. Okay. The next important word to know is assigned sex. Now, this is the gender that we have at birth or we are born with. So my assigned sex is male. I might decide to transition later, but my assigned sex is male. Got it? The next important word to know is cisgendered. CIS, cisgendered. Now, this is somebody whose gender identity is aligned with the gender they were designated at birth. So, if I was born with the male genitalia and I consider myself as male, I am cisgendered male. If I were born with female genitalia and I consider myself female, I am a cisgendered female. Okay? Prachi, you look confused. Sorry, not picking on you. You look like you had a question.
I did not understand that bit.
Okay. Please ask. So, for example, you were born. I'm sorry, I'm assuming, but let me work with that assumption. So, you were born as a female, and you consider yourself a female.
But then it is assigned sex only, no?
Sorry.
But then it is assigned sex only, no? CIS में और assigned sex में क्या difference हो गया?
Same. So, when a person whose sexual identity is in line with the assigned sex is cisgender.
So we all are cisgendered.
You are sister.
I'm not going to make that assumption.
You are you can
Speak
say for
You
yourself.
can speak for yourself.
I can say for
You can speak
myself.
for yourself.
Yeah.
I will not make that assumption. You never know. Okay. I have friends of mine who've come out at 50, 55 also.
This is
You
a sign.
Born a
And
female
you identify
considers herself female is cisgendered female. Born a male considers himself male is a cisgendered male. ठीक है? Otherwise, simply put, boring heterosexuals. No, not true, not true. So I am a cisgendered male, even though I like men, but I'm still a cisgendered male.
Yeah.
Do you get it? So it is just about gender you're born with and gender identity you agree with. Okay.
Okay.
Now the next very, very important thing is coming out, which is when one truly accepts their own orientation privately and out to people who matter. Okay. Now, funny thing is, a lot of people I speak to and I ask, and they're like, no, my friends know, but my parents don't know. So, coming out is a journey for most people. I will not say what is right, what is wrong. It's a very individual journey. But in my opinion, coming out is when you come out to yourself and to people who matter. Okay. If you think your parents don't matter, then they don't matter. Okay. Then the next important thing is gender fluid. Now, don't get worried if you don't understand all these terms today itself, because I will say this with pride, I still don't understand some of these terms. And I've been a practicing homosexual for 44 years now. So, some of these words are confusing, but try and understand as much as you can. Okay? Now, who's gender fluid? Now, gender fluid is a person who is neither male or female, who's got an experiences of range of femaleness and maleness, and can transition from one gender to another. Okay. Too complicated. Simply put, somebody who does not considers themselves only male and only female. There are days of the week they might consider themselves female, sometimes male, sometimes both, sometimes neither. नहीं समझ में आया? Tinto, imagine
So,
if you wake up today and
sorry.
you like, I feel like I'm a man today. Okay, so your gender identity is of a man, and you're fluidly changing from being a woman to a man to being both to being neither. That's a gender fluid person. Sorry, somebody had a question before I cut them off.
Yeah. Hi, Rohan. Rohan. So gender fluid people don't come under any, I would say, the headings
Yes.
that we discussed.
They come under-
LGBT.
They do.
So where can somebody who who is a gender in the state of gender fluid, I would say. So
So very, very, very good question, and I will try my best to give you an intelligent answer. So, and unfortunately, there is no exact answer, okay? Because fluidity is fluid, right? So it is moving from one to the other. So, say if I'm born as a man, and on that day my gender, I think I'm a man and I'm attracted to other men, then on that day I become a gay man. But if tomorrow my self identification is that of a female and I'm attracted to a man, I become a straight woman. Is that making sense?
So
Yeah.
it changes by days,
Yes. And hours
literally
also.
days.
I dated somebody like that. It can be slightly complicated,
Okay. Okay.
but it's a
But
lot.
then gender fluidity is something one owns wish, or
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah. It's nothing to do with body parts. It's not to do. It's nothing to do with biology. It's inner desire. So I briefly dated somebody who one day would come dressed as a very good looking, well, he was young, so boy, man, whatever, and then once came dressed like a beautiful girl. So yeah, that's what it is. Does that make sense? By the way, don't confuse the two things. Okay, gender fluidity is a sexual identification fluidity. So depending on where in the spectrum you're falling that day, you could be an LGBTQI, but then technically, which is why I love the term queer. You know, it is such a beautiful umbrella term that everything just goes in it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Got it.
Now, another very important thing to know is F to M, and I'm going to put the other aspect of it, which is M to F, which is female to male and male to female. Now, please understand this. An F to M is anybody who was born as a female but does not currently think they are a female, need not have got surgery done, need not have even taken pills. If I'm born a female and I'm feeling I'm not a female, I am an F to M. Okay? And I mean, if I'm a female and I feel I'm a male, I'm an F to M. Okay? And the exact opposite is if I'm born male and I feel I'm a female, I am a F to M. Sorry, male to female, so M to F. Okay? Confusing?
No, that's understood.
Clear.
Again, repeating, it is nothing to do with biology. This is self identification.
So,
Okay?
biological gender.
Now, gender expression. This is where it gets interesting. Now, gender expression is how one chooses to express one's gender identity to others through behavior, clothing, hairstyle, voice, body characteristics. And this might change on a daily basis. So, today, my gender expression is fluid. So, I'm wearing beautiful white nail polish. You can see. And I've got my hair colored, which I need to get corrected today, but whatever. And it changes, okay, and you know it's I'm not saying everyone changes, but what I'm saying is okay to change also, and there are some people who change on a regular basis. Sorry, that's gender expression. What I do outwardly, okay. So if I tomorrow feel like wearing a sari and come to office, which I look horrible in, but then that's my gender expression. Okay. Don't laugh, Anisha. I look fabulous in the sari. What are you saying? I'll send you a picture. Then is gender identity. Now, gender identity is an internal sense. Do I consider myself male? Do I consider myself female? Do I consider myself both? Do I consider myself neither? Okay. Again, this is not biology. This is self-identification. Sorry, guys. So, what does that person consider their gender identity. Like for me, I never had any concern there. I always considered myself male. But my gender expression I've always liked to play with. Okay. Similarly, there are people who also transition in their gender identity. Who become what?
From a male.
What are they called? Gender fluid. Who said that? Full marks. Okay. Then the next one is gender non-conforming or gender queer. Now there's a slight overlap here, but this is where they wanted to make again a more inclusive umbrella term, where people whose gender identity is neither male nor female or both or either or whatever, they just call themselves gender queer. So gender fluid and gender queer are fairly overlapping, except when gender fluid was made, the idea was either male or female or both. But then people that maybe you are 80% male, 20% female. Okay, so you're not gender fluid from that strict definition. So they created another term called gender queer, which is just more inclusive. Okay. Then is my least favorite word in the English dictionary. I can't even pronounce it right. It's heteronormativity. Now, heteronormativity basically means it's a lifestyle choice that insists people fall in their own gender rules that are described by our forefathers. For example, heteronormative means you will not go out and work, you should be staying home having kids as women, and men should be going out and work. Men not. I was thinking of wearing a pink shirt today and say, okay, this is against heteronormative because men are not supposed to wear pink. I thought nail polish is enough. So those things that we are taught that like even now we probably tell our sons, boys don't cry. Why should boys not cry? In fact, I recently heard one of my aunts telling my sort of baby niece that she should learn how to make rotis because that's her life. She would turn into a maid for some man. So these are heteronormative beliefs that we are brought up with, which I have a very strong issue against. But if that's what you like, that's what you like. But that's what heteronormative means. Subscribing to what has been prescribed as gender norms and gender. Any questions, guys? So male to female we've already covered. Now, non-binary are people who are beyond being traditionally male or female. Okay. Now, gender fluid is somebody who is constantly transitioning. Non-binary is somebody who is transitioned to a point where they feel they're neither male nor female or both. Okay. Can somebody think of a very famous person who's recently come out as non-binary? Raise your hands if you can. You'll kick yourself when I tell you the name. Has nobody heard of Billie Eilish?
Yes, the singer.
Billie Eilish not recently, about a year ago, came out as non-binary. So if you get time, Google their story. It's very interesting. Now, pansexual, honestly, is something I don't understand. Okay, I genuinely thought pansexuals are people who like to cook, but no, pansexuals are people who are attracted to other people outside conventional attributes. So pansexuals are people who might like somebody just because they like to go hiking, or pansexuals are people who like somebody because they're very intelligent, or who are very outgoing, but nothing else. So say a pansexual person has dated 4 people. The 4 people could be of different genders, different physical attributes. The only thing common with them would be they all like to go hiking. Is that making sense? No. Yes, no, no. All the no's, raise your hands.
Very confusing.
Yes. Imagine the person. So imagine what the person is going through. So a pansexual is a person. Okay, let me say it differently. What attracts you to a person, Prachi?
The overall personality, or how they
Jyoti.
talk. Yeah.
Such a jyoti. बकवास सच बोलो यार सच बोलो.
और क्या होता है? How they look.
So it invariably so it is about, like, okay, how does a person come across to us, and a lot of that is I would say about 60-65% is a physical aspect of that person, right? How the person stands, how the person talks, how the person looks, etc., and then aspects about the personality, how the person speaks, is the person smiles nicely or not, has pretty eyes or not, etc. Okay, pansexual people are people who are attracted to other people not on these things. It could be on something which is outside conventional attributes. So I still remember I had the hugest crush on Vikram Seth without even knowing what he looked like, after I read a book called A Suitable Boy. And I was in class 9th then. No, I was in class 7th, sorry. And I had never seen Vikram Seth in my life. In fact, only recently I saw his pictures. He's an ugly old man. But, I was fiercely, in fact, I remember telling my grandmother I want to marry him. And she started laughing because I was like a child. Then I read a book called, shit, I've forgotten the name of the book. So there's another very lovely author called Siddharth Dhanwant Sangvi. He's written about 3 books in his life. And after I read those 3 books, I actually stalked him on Facebook, and we became friends on Facebook. Because I was so attracted to that writing that I wanted to meet that person. So pansexual person is somebody, I'm not saying I'm pansexual, I'm just trying to give an example. The pansexual person is somebody who's attracted to non-conventional attributes. Okay? नहीं. कनिका आप म्यूट पे हो.
But that happens. I mean,
No. But pansexual people only get attracted to people with non-conventional attributes. Only.
Okay.
That's where the difference is. So for them, it's not about how you look, how you smell, how you behave. It's all about some strange angle. Okay?
Yeah, got it.
So that's the only reason they.
Yeah. So that is the difference. Okay. Then the next important word to understand is sexual orientation. Okay. Like people say, what is a sexual orientation? So sexual orientation is the kind of person you are attracted to emotionally and physically. So if I'm a male, I'm attracted to a male, that makes me
Gay,
Gay,
if I'm a female and I'm attracted to other females,
lesbian,
lesbian,
if I'm a male and I'm attracted to both men and women, greedy.
bisexual,
I'm bisexual.
bisexual.
Good. I said greedy. Okay. So that's sexual orientation. Okay. Now there's another word that you will hear a lot when you speak to people of the queer community is trans. I'm trans. Now trans has become an umbrella term that includes people who are intergender and people who are transgendered. Okay. Intergender, as we discussed earlier, are people who are born with both male and female genital attributes or neither, and transgender people who are transitioning from one to the other, either emotionally or physically. Okay. But the term trans is very loosely used to describe all of it. Okay. My least favorite 3 words: homophobia, queerphobia, and transphobia. Phobia is, now there's a very, very interesting line. I've forgotten who said it, and I wish I'd been able to pull up that. But there's a beautiful line. The person says, phobia is fear. Being homophobic is not being afraid. You're being an asshole. So what homophobia is not fear. It's hatred and intolerance towards homosexual people. Queer phobia is not fear, it is hatred and intolerance towards queer people. Transphobia is pure and pure hatred and intolerance towards transsexual people. Do you know how many transsexuals get killed in Delhi in a month? Does anyone want to hazard a guess? But it's not a huge number, it's not in hundreds, thankfully. How many transsexuals get beaten up and killed in Delhi? 15 a month, 1 5. More than 2 a week. The average age of a transsexual person in India is 45. They don't survive beyond it, they get killed. That is the society we live in. By the way, the dictionary here that I have linked has a few more words that you can go through. Okay, now we have some time, right? Or have you overshot?
Time we are up with, but we are all for it. Please.
So the question, some of the questions that I thought people would ask, I think covers. So what pronoun to use if I'm not sure? The answer is please ask. Now then, what are the people who are queer from the LGBT community? Well, they are regular people. They're not people with horns and tails. Are gay men like women? No. Gay men are men who like other men. Are bisexual people who have not come out as gay or lesbian? No. Bisexual people who like both males and females. Now, please feel free to ask me any question. I promise I will not judge or laugh or giggle. I meant giggle, sorry, but I'll not laugh. Come on, guys. I know you have questions. Even I have questions. How can you not have questions?
So
Who's
hi,
there?
I'm
Tinto.
hi.
You can ask any question, Tinto. You don't have to ask Kanika. Feel free to ask.
No, I had this confusion. The people who have the hormonal change, they have the, I keep forgetting the hormone estrogen.
Transitioning estrogen and testosterone.
Yeah. So what are they called? Are they
So I'll answer in two different ways. Female wrestlers have more estrogen, testosterone in their body than I would have, and I probably am pretty low on testosterone right now because of bad food habits. That does not change my gender identity or expression. So there's no, so just because my hormonal levels are different. So there are women who look strong and muscular, who have high testosterone in them, are just women with high testosterone. Similarly, there are men who have more estrogen in them. In fact, human male breast syndrome is a fairly common disease all around the world because that's a hormonal imbalance issue. I always thought I have it, but then I just realized I'm just fat. So that does not change your gender identity or expression. It is a physiological. It's a biological thing. Nothing to be confused between them. I mean, you can be a. I'll give you an example. Like dancers, male dancers, they look so delicate and pretty when they do Kathak steps.
true?
Need not be gay. In fact, some of the famous Indian male dancers were supposed to be the worst seducers of women. And there are horror stories of some, let me not name them, but who taught me for a while. He used to be a major Casanova. So, two different things. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Come on,
hi.
now.
This is Deepti.
Sorry, please.
Yeah, hi. This is Deepti here.
Hey, Deepti.
I happen to be. Hi. Thank you for such a lovely session, and thanks to Kanika for making this happen. I have my teenage daughter with me, and one of the reasons why I was very, very keen to be part of this and know about certain terminologies, because being a Gen X, I think I have a lot of learning to do. Well, you were saying something about your own experience. She had one question which she wanted to ask.
Please go
Um,
ahead.
so introduce and ask.
Hi, my name is Nishika Pillai, and the question that I was that you said that at the age of 3 you came out to yourself, but at the age of 3 I was watching Pogo. I knew nothing about that. And then, how did you know at the age of 3 that what these things were?
You promised me you will not laugh, so I thought I'll
No, I'm
take
not
that
laughing.
risk.
I'm embarrassed. Um,
Oh,
okay.
no,
So
no.
I did not know the terminologies. I learned the terminologies much later. I still remember, I think I was in class 5 is when India Today had come out with like a very big study on sexual identity. So I was in class 5, meant I was 10 years old. So this will be 1988 or 89. Long, long, long time back. And that's when I learned the terms. So there are terms like homosexuality, bisexuality, gay, lesbian. So some of those terms I learned then. I realized the label then. But I always knew because I always had the hottest attraction for my next door neighbor who was this 15-year-old army school student who I would want to play with and I would want to hug and I would want to go for naps with all the time. I still remember I had He-Man and my He-Man would not fight with Skeletor but would, you know, with Skeletor. So that's when I knew that, I mean I knew what who I was, I just didn't have the label for it, which I learned later in life.
If I just rephrase that, I think the question, or rather, the understanding is that, um, for somebody who's a queer, who's from this community, it's very important to be self-aware. So I think my question, I would like to understand, being if I being a career counselor or a student counselor, that uh, when is it that you should, or is there a right age or a time, so that you can self protect yourself with what the society will show you.
That is such a good question, and unfortunately, there's no answer to it. So, I mean, in a very ideal construct, if you are aware of your sexual identity or sexual expression pre-puberty, your life becomes slightly easy. But it
True.
honestly doesn't matter as long as you're true to whatever identity you're living with that day. Um, I know people who, one of my closest friends, he always thought he is heterosexual, just confused till he was 25. And then to a point where now he feels very differently about his lifestyle. So there's no one absolute number, but I've seen more than not people realize their sexual identity during puberty, which is when the sexual awakening happens, which is when you start realizing that as a boy, you don't want to play cricket, you want to. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm using really bad cliches, but you realize you want to play home with another boy. So, by the way, I used to love playing cricket. I used to love playing football. I was also a fairly decent student. So I broke a lot of stereotypes during my childhood, and I'm a very good mechanic. Also, I can open a car and take it down to engine to its spare parts, and I like white nail polish.
So, Rohan, from a corporate, if we take this discussion towards how we're going to use this knowledge, or how we're going to use this understanding when it comes to a corporate setup, I think it's a no-brainer when it comes to the fact that when it comes to hiring, I think what we are stepping towards is that gender is not uh, the criteria for selection. That's the idealistic form of the idealistic stage of what we would like to achieve, but we are far from it. We all know that, because there are personal biases, there are social biases, there are inherent biases, there are apparent biases, there are biases of biases. So it's not a very a smooth process that way. But being from this community, what is your expectation when on how a corporate should inbuild this thinking within the talent acquisition strategy?
So, this
And
goes back to what I was. Sorry, please continue.
no, I
You were
mean
saying
it's a broader question. It's a broader question, but I just thought I'll take a view from you on this.
so. Very simply put, it is an extension of when you say JD should not have a gender mentioned. Okay, so inclusivity is all about JD should not have sexual identity mentioned also. Okay, and on the other side, what inclusivity is if 30% of India's population is queer, then that should get reflected in your population also. Okay,
Hmm.
it may not be exact 30%, but there should be. I mean, if the world is 30% queer, then if you really want an inclusive, sort of aware, forward-thinking environment, then you need to have people from all walks of life, including 30% of the population square, in it. Okay,
Okay.
does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Somewhat.
Thanks for answering the questions. Thank you so much for your
Anytime.
time.
Anybody else? Let's ask a few personal questions. No, no, please don't. Oh, by the way, Megha, sorry, your question was which is the best platform to tap queer people? Megha, are you there?
Some people have left, huh? So
Oh, okay. Then I will not answer this
I
question.
had a question, Rohan. Now, if as a parent, if our kids come to us and they open up or they come out saying that this is what they identify themselves, so as a parent, what should we do, or how should we support them, or what is the kind of, how we should go about it so that we become their support system and we are there for them. So, what do you suggest that, since you have, I'm sure I might not be doing it
This was
right.
the question that was there in my
No,
mind also. I raised it.
I think there's a very, very interesting
Absolutely.
question, and very simple answer is continue being a parent. So I'll give you an example, and I don't know. I will. Okay, let me give an example and answer the question. So many years ago, when Delhi High Court read down Section 377 and it became legal for queer people to exist, the first call I got was from my mother, and all she said was, "Son, you're legal now. Congratulations." Okay, till date, that is the happiest moment of my life. Okay? So be accepting, be understanding, being open, and continue to love your child because your child hasn't changed. Your child's gender identity or sexual identity is different. That is all. Your child's life might become more difficult in future because of that. So you need to be even more understanding and even more loving. But then again, do not make the mistake of overseeing mistakes of your child just because your child is non-binary or is a member of the queer community. Be strict. Be a regular parent, but be loving as much as any parent can be. Be caring as much as any parent can be. Nurturing as any parent can be. Don't change yourself. Okay, great. So moving on to the last slide. Thank you so much for your time, and remember, love is love.
Thank you so much, Rohan. I would
Thank
just,
you, Rohan. Thank you for a fabulous session. Thank you so much.
Take care.
guys, just a minute. Let me just take a pic. I mean, it's a nice session, and all of us together, I would want a pic. And I'm just claiming the controls. 1 second.
Yeah.
I would request everyone to, if they could, switch on their videos. Tanya, please come closer. Sherin, Shivani, Anjali, if y'all could maybe.
The boys have run away.